February 28, 1978. Deputies found a turquoise Mercury abandoned on a mountain road, 70 miles from where its passengers should have been. The car still had fuel. Its engine started immediately. Neatly folded maps waited in the glove compartment, but all 5 men were gone. The tires had spun in shallow snow, yet investigators believed several adults could have pushed the vehicle free within minutes. More disturbing was the road itself, rough, isolated, and completely unfamiliar to families who knew how carefully the driver protected his car. 4 months later, searchers found one passenger inside a forest trailer, wrapped in sheets beside food and heating supplies nobody had used. 3 others were discovered along the road. The 5th man, Gary Mathias, vanished so completely that no confirmed trace ever surfaced. Whatever happened began after a basketball game, during a drive home that should have taken less than 1 ordinary hour. Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Ted Weiher, Jackie Huett, and Gary Mathias lived around Yuba City and nearby Marysville, California. They were close friends who bowled, attended dances, watched sports, and played together on a local basketball team called the Gateway Gators. Several lived with developmental disabilities, while Mathias was successfully receiving treatment for schizophrenia and working in his stepfather's gardening business. On February 24th, they drove north to Chico to watch a college basketball game between teams they followed closely. Their own tournament began the next morning, and some had already placed clean uniforms and shoes beside their beds. That detail mattered because their families knew the men valued schedules, promises, and basketball far more than spontaneous mountain trips. The game ended shortly before 10. Their team had won, and witnesses remembered the 5 leaving cheerful and apparently relaxed. They stopped at a nearby market for pies, candy, soft drinks, and milk while the closing clerk waited impatiently. Then Madruga's Mercury left Chico. Instead of following the familiar route south, it somehow continued east toward the Sierra Nevada. No witness reliably explained why they changed direction, whether somebody followed them, or who guided the car onto that mountain road. By dawn, 5 untouched beds told 5 worried families that something had gone terribly wrong somewhere during the freezing night. Their basketball clothes remained carefully prepared for a tournament they had discussed repeatedly and clearly intended to attend the following morning. Police searches initially focused on the route home until a forest ranger remembered seeing the Mercury near the snow line. Deputies reached the car on February 28th and immediately faced a silent scene that stubbornly refused to explain itself. Snack wrappers from Chico lay inside. The keys were missing, but the vehicle had not run out of gasoline. When investigators connected the ignition directly, the engine started, suggesting no mechanical failure had forced everyone into the freezing darkness. The undercarriage showed surprisingly little damage despite miles of rutted road that Madruga normally would have avoided to protect his Mercury. The car sat only slightly trapped. 5 men working together likely could have moved it back onto the road. Instead, they had apparently locked or abandoned it and walked into deepening snow wearing clothing chosen for a basketball game. Search teams followed the road, but a storm arrived, burying tracks and turning the mountains dangerous even for experienced rescuers. Snow vehicles nearly became stranded, visibility collapsed, and authorities eventually suspended the most intensive mountain search until conditions finally improved. Near the abandoned Mercury, another driver named Joseph Shans later described a deeply confusing encounter from that same freezing night. Sean said his own car became stuck nearby while he suffered a medical emergency and waited inside for help. He recalled flashlight beams, shadowy figures, and perhaps another vehicle, but admitted pain and confusion made his memories unreliable. According to his account, he called toward people outside, and the lights suddenly disappeared instead of approaching his stranded car. Investigators could never establish whether Sean's witnessed the 5 friends, unrelated travelers, or fragments created by a distressed mind. Winter held the mountain for months. Then, on June 4, motorcyclists reached a remote Forest Service trailer nearly 20 miles away. A broken window suggested somebody had entered, and inside they found Ted Weiher lying beneath several carefully arranged sheets. His appearance suggested he had survived for many weeks, perhaps much longer. After the night, the entire group disappeared. Personal belongings remained beside him. His shoes were missing, and severe cold injury showed how long his feet had suffered. The trailer contained matches, furniture, and books that could have fueled a fire, yet its heating system had never been activated. Outside storage held large quantities of food, including enough unopened emergency supplies to sustain several people for many months. Some ration cans had been eaten, apparently opened with a military can opener, but most available food remained untouched. Investigators also found Gary Mathias' shoes inside, raising the possibility that at least 2 men reached the trailer alive. If Mathias exchanged shoes with Weiher, where did he go afterward? And why has nothing belonging to him been confirmed beyond that point? Searchers worked backward along the road and soon discovered the remains of Madruga and Sterling on opposite sides of the route. Jackie Huett's remains were found closer to the trailer. After relatives joined searches nobody should ever have needed to conduct. The positions suggested the men may have separated, collapsed at different stages, or attempted to help one another through the snow. But even that sequence remains uncertain because months of weather, snow, and wildlife had altered almost every important outdoor clue. The greatest puzzle remained the trailer why endure cold and hunger, while heat, food, and survival equipment sat within reach. Perhaps the survivors did not understand the unfamiliar systems, feared damaging government property, or became too impaired to act rationally. Perhaps only one person remained capable of caring for Weiher, then left seeking help before disappearing somewhere beyond the known search area. Another possibility is that an unknown threat forced the group up the road, making every later decision part of an escape. Families strongly doubted Madruga voluntarily drove there. He disliked cold, avoided rough roads, and had important plans for the morning. No evidence conclusively proves another person was involved, but no simple wrong-turn theory explains every decision the group made afterward. Why leave a working car? Why walk uphill through snow? Why ignore shelter systems and food? Why did Gary disappear alone? Each answer solves one piece while creating another mystery, which is why the case has resisted every confident reconstruction for decades. Later retellings sometimes call the men careless or helpless, but their lives before that night do not support such easy dismissal. They worked, traveled, played sports, kept routines, and had successfully returned from many ordinary outings before this final drive. The mystery is not that 5 vulnerable men entered danger. It is that nobody knows what placed them there. 4 families eventually buried their sons. Gary Mathias' family never received even that final certainty or a confirmed place to mourn. Decades later, the abandoned car, the unused supplies, and the missing shoes still point toward a story with crucial pages removed. 5 friends left a basketball game expecting to play again the next morning. Somewhere in the mountains, their ordinary night became unknowable.